So this video is for those editors who are just getting started in the industry, or maybe you're a prosumer and you want to consider a switch to a better software to edit your videos, or maybe you're a professional using Final Cut Pro 10 or Premiere Pro or maybe Davinci Resolve, and you want to consider switching or maybe just see what options you have out there. My name's Murray. I'm going to show you what options you have and if it's a good idea to switch from one to the other, the pros and cons of each, and we'll just start a discussion about what software you like better. Now, keep in mind, this is not to rant on any other software. This is not to say this one is better for that one or this one is better than that one. This is more about what is more viable in your situation. A lot of editors have different situations and they have a different workflow. So a different software may work better for them. Now, keep in mind, I'm speaking from experience. I've been editing and doing video and visual effects and filmmaking for the last 9-10 years now. And I currently have a full-time job as an editor and filmmaker. I do about 47 hours of editing a week. So this is my full-time job. Keep in mind, I'm going to have as little bias as possible. I use the Adobe suite, but I have had experience with all the other softwares. Not as much with Final Cut Pro 10, but I have been exposed to it because I'm in the industry and I learn a lot about it because I got to know if it's something that I want to consider switching to. In my case, we'll find out if that's what I want to do. But for you, let's take a look and see what options you have and which one you can switch to if that's what you want to do. But first, intro. That was a pretty good intro. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to start with the one that I am most familiar with, so the Adobe suite. Why am I out of breath from that? By the way, real quick, if you don't have the time to edit all your videos or even do visual effects if you need any work from that, or maybe you're a streamer and you need stinger transitions or elements or anything to build your brand, or maybe you need a logo. Pretty much anything you want, Fiverr is a great place where you can have all this work done for you and to a quality standard. There's a huge range of options you have when it comes to pricing. Fiverr isn't sponsoring this video, but I am a partner of them. And if you use the link in the description, you can get some really awesome gigs and I get a small kickback, and that really helps me continue to do what I do on the channel, help create free educational content for you guys in teaching you how to build your brand, do visual effects, editing, learn how to do filmmaking, how to have a professional stream setup, and a bunch more. I've got my top pick of editors down in the link below. But let's carry on with the video. So, the Adobe suite. That's a can of worms. There's a lot of pros and cons and controversy. So I'm going to try cut through all the fat and get to the facts. I'm going to talk about this in the sense of video editing. I'm not going to consider visual effects or motion graphics as much, although that will be a subject that I touch on. Most of the time I'm going to consider editing for these softwares. And maybe we'll do a visual effects heavy tutorial or conversation about which software to use. But for this one, we're going to do editing. So Premiere Pro is good in a lot of ways. First of all, Adobe is a very big company, so they have developed their software to the ins and outs. So it's very capable of being the industry standard, and it has lived up to that name. It has a lot of good title animation. You can do a lot of visual effects with it as well, which is very useful. And there's the editing side of it, which it has a pretty limitless ability. You're really limited by your creativity, which means that you can do pretty much anything as long as you're able to do it or you're knowledgeable enough. There's a lot you can do with Premiere Pro. Another great point is it has Adobe Dynamic Link. So if you are a visual effects editor, motion graphics artist, anything like that, and you want to use After Effects, you can do that directly from Premiere Pro into After Effects and vice versa. So you can do all of your visual effects and motion graphics in After Effects And then when you want to either export it or bring it back into your main composition or your project, such as a feature film, short film, advertisement, you know, whatever it is, and that visual effects shot is just one part of the whole film or sequence, you can do that very easily. And then you obviously render your sound effects and music and video and everything from Premiere Pro to the final result. So that's something serious to consider. I have considered switching to Davinci Resolve, which I'll talk a little bit more later. But if I did that, I would lose the Adobe Dynamic Link system, and I do a lot of visual effects and motion graphics in After Effects, and I like to switch between Premiere and After Effects. So I haven't switched to Davinci yet. Another thing about using Premiere is it's very easy to learn. Very basic, straightforward. Obviously, there's a lot of complicated sides to it if you want to dive deep into it and get the most out of the program. But as a basic editor, you can use it like that, and it's super simple. In addition to that, there's a lot of educational content online, such as YouTube, Instagram. There's so much educational content out there. And honestly, it can be overwhelming. There's so much to learn from it. And that's why a lot of people in the editing industry these days are not considering going to colleges for this type of work as much as they used to. Now, I'm not going to make this a video on college and all that, rather than getting a degree or experience and yada yada. This is more strictly video. But that's one of the reasons why a lot of people won't go to school as much as they have in the past, is because there's so much content, literally on-demand content for the Adobe suite. I can say the same about Final Cut Pro 10, but it's not as much as far as I've seen. Overall, I do like Premiere a lot. I've got a lot of experience with it, at least 9 years of experience with editing with Premiere Pro, so it is nice. However, there are some drawbacks / downfalls. One of the biggest is Premiere Pro is pretty expensive. I mean, if you get the Adobe suite, it's like $50 a month. But if you just get Premiere Pro without any other of the programs, just Premiere itself, it's like 20 bucks per month. That's still a lot of money. And if I've been using it for 9 years, and let's say I was spending $20 a month for 9 years, how much would that be? Oh, now I'm curious. $20 times 12 times 9. That's $2,160. Man. And Final Cut Pro is how much? 300 bucks. I'm not a huge fan. I wish I could buy a once-off. When I did buy the I brought like the production premium or something like that for, I think it was $1,000 for Premiere Pro, After Effects, Photoshop, Adobe Audition, and I think a couple others. And that was the CS6 version. It wasn't the CC version. And that was a once-off fee. But obviously it didn't receive updates, and they discontinued the CS6 or CS5 or CS4 or CS3 or CS2 versions. And they just went to the CC, Creative Cloud. Now I'm on Creative Cloud 2020, and there are some issues with 2020, more so than 2019. So a couple of issues with 2020 these days. At least the time of this recording, and the date is currently January 20th, 2020. So as of today, these issues have not been resolved yet. So including playback glitches, when you scrub through the timeline or you just press spacebar and play the sequence, there'll be glitches and it'll kind of stutter as it goes down the timeline. Not a big fan of that. One way to solve that issue is if you close Premiere Pro, delete the preview files, which are usually rendered in the same location as Premiere Pro. If it isn't, go to your preferences and just update where you save the preview files. Just make sure it does it in the same file where you actually save Premiere Pro. That way, if you have this issue, delete those preview files, reopen Premiere Pro, and you'll obviously have to re-render the sequence. So you just press enter on the numeric keyboard, or you press enter So you just press enter on the keyboard or just go up there and press that. That solves that issue. There are other issues like Premiere Pro crashing, and that's been a problem before 2020. So that's not new at all. Also, their support or development is not as good. Also, their development and support is not as good as I think it should be. So for example, these issues with 2020, they still have not fixed these playback issues or crashing issues more often than in 2019. So that's an issue and they still haven't fixed it. And I'm really frustrated because I edit 8-9 hours a day for 5-6 days a week. And it's very annoying. I edit about 40 to 47 hours a week and I need a reliable program to work with. And with Adobe system, obviously I like a lot of things about it. There's also a lot of stuff I don't. So I need a reliable tool set, and Premiere Pro, unfortunately, it doesn't cut it 100%, although it's one that I'm stuck with because I'm good at Premiere Pro and After Effects. I don't feel like learning a whole different software, although it may not take as much because I understand the principles and the theory of editing. So it wouldn't be a hard switch, but I don't have time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I'm stuck with Premiere Pro for now, hoping that Premiere Pro or Adobe would solve their crashing issues, playback issues, glitches, and just other annoying stuff that makes your work so much harder and we just waste a lot of time. I'm gonna weigh these all at the end, so we're gonna compile them, see which one might be better for specific cases, but we're gonna move on to Final Cut Pro 10. Final Cut Pro 10 is very good. It can be more of a basic interface and it costs $300 once-off fee. You don't have to change or update a subscription model. You don't have to pay a subscription model. What's up with my eye? It's pretty optimized for your system. By the way, another issue with Premiere Pro that I've had is it doesn't combine CPU and GPU usage as well as maybe Davinci Resolve or Final Cut Pro 10. It's not as efficient on your computer resources, but it's still pretty good if you have a good PC. My PC is a GTX 1080 graphics card and a i7-9700K processor, and I've got 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM, and I don't remember the rest of it. But Final Cut Pro 10 is pretty optimized for your system. It doesn't have any of the glitches that Premiere Pro has, at least to my knowledge. I haven't seen any of that. There probably are a couple crashes here and there, but that's normal. I mean, Premiere Pro and After Effects crash way more often than Final Cut does. So you got that. However, Final Cut Pro does not have visual effects capabilities like After Effects does, and the Adobe dynamic link between Premiere and After Effects. So you don't have as much flexibility or freedom in Final Cut Pro when you want to do motion graphics or visual effects. So if you plan to go motion graphics, visual effects, stick with the Adobe suite because they're the leading in that industry at the moment. However, if you just want to do video editing, maybe you have a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel, or you just want to edit basic videos, Final Cut Pro 10 may be a better option. So it just depends. Now, obviously, $300 up front is not as nice as a monthly fee of $30 or maybe $50 a month for Premiere Pro and After Effects or the Adobe suite. But over time, it's a better investment if you're just planning on editing. Final Cut Pro 10 may be a better option for you. And then there's Davinci Resolve. Davinci Resolve is very good. It's a professional video editor, and it was designed for Hollywood level color grading. So the color is spot on. A professional company, and they know exactly what they're doing with color. Now, editing in Davinci is new to the Blackmagic Design company, and they're relatively new in the video editing realm, but they have definitely exceeded expectations significantly. They have optimized CPU and GPU usage, so they've combined the two to make them work really well together, something that Adobe has not done yet, which I'm still frustrated about. And then also, if you are into at least basic editing, Davinci Resolve will definitely be able to do that as well. And it actually can even do minimal motion graphics, title animation, and a little bit of motion graphics such as keying and masking, things like that. Davinci Resolve can be pretty powerful for that, and it's not too expensive. You can actually get it for free if you buy a Blackmagic camera, which I have the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. A long name, I don't know why, it's stupid. But I got Davinci Resolve for free because I got that camera, what I'm using right now to film. So you can get it for free if you buy one of their cameras. Now Davinci Resolve is $300 once-off fee, which is nice. Same price as Final Cut Pro 10. Not a subscription model, so it beats Adobe there as well. Now again, if you want to be able to do visual effects and motion graphics on a heavy basis on a professional level, Davinci Resolve is not going to quite cut it just yet. They are developing the software more and more, and they're definitely a good competitor with Final Cut Pro 10 and with Adobe. However, if you want to do motion graphics, editing, visual effects, you're probably better off with Adobe still, or at least After Effects. There's also Nuke, which is a good option. I'm not too familiar with Nuke, so I can't say a lot about it, but if you want to do visual effects, Nuke is also a pretty direct competitor with After Effects. It's also one of the industry standards in the professional level visual effects and editing industry. So that is an option for you to look at. I'm not going to talk a lot about Nuke because it's more on the visual effects side of things. And honestly, I don't know a whole lot about it. I haven't learned enough for it. So I'm going to put that one aside. You can definitely do your research on it. I'll leave links down in the description if you guys want to take a look at more options and see what software you want to get. Maybe you want to get more information. So all those links are down below. Now, one that's come out a few years ago was HitFilm Pro and HitFilm Express. So let's start with HitFilm Express. HitFilm Express is a free-to-use editing software. Absolutely insane for what you get for free. Editing for videos, and it does visual effects. So it can compete pretty well with After Effects. It's not to the same level as After Effects. So the Adobe suite is definitely at the professional level, and HitFilm Express is more of the prosumer level. So definitely a very good software to use, and it's free if you don't want to pay for anything. If you want to upgrade to the professional grade, so HitFilm Pro is $350. You get 12 months of updates after that, and you can use it on 3 devices at the same time. So very nice. There's a lot of other options that they offer as well, but they also give a lot of tutorials, user support, and updates to their software. So they stay up to date and they make sure that you know what you're doing with the software, so you're not left in the dark trying to figure it out by yourself. There's a lot of educational content that they have to know how to do visual effects, teleportation, and a lot of other great visual effects and editing tricks that they show you on their channel and on their website. Definitely an option for you. You can try it out for free if you want, and I would seriously recommend you give it a go at least once. So a pretty brief discussion about these softwares. There's definitely a lot more options out there. I can leave extra links down in the description for other softwares I haven't mentioned. I don't want to make this too long, but let's quickly talk about, in your scenario, what are you going to go with, or what should you consider? Or if you want to switch to one, what is the best option? So if you want to do visual effects, motion graphics, things like that, After Effects, Nuke, and probably HitFilm Pro are good options for you. If I was going to pick one of those, I would go with After Effects. The top 2 is definitely Nuke and After Effects. HitFilm Pro is probably the 3rd in the line, but those 3 are very good visual effects editing softwares. If you want to go with maybe basic editing like a vlog channel, or you want to do a prank channel, or YouTube, or any online content creation that requires editing, maybe a little bit of a title animation and maybe even some keying or masking, you can definitely go with Final Cut Pro 10, Davinci Resolve, or Premiere Pro. If you are not a fan of the subscription model with Premiere Pro and you want to go the long distance, I would recommend Davinci Resolve or Final Cut Pro 10. Probably Final Cut Pro 10 more than Davinci Resolve, because Final Cut Pro 10 has been out there for longer. and it definitely has more editing features when it comes to editing for the industry standard. If you want to make sure your color's right, obviously you can go with Final Cut, but Davinci Resolve is very, very good with color customization. You can literally tweak the finest details with color. You can make things look absolutely amazing. If you want to combine editing and visual effects / motion graphics, the Adobe suite is probably one of the best. Maybe Final Cut Pro 10 you can do, but you're limited on visual effects a little bit. HitFilm Pro is also a good option if you want to combine visual effects with editing. HitFilm Pro has a lot of the editing capabilities that Premiere Pro has, and it has a lot of the capabilities that After Effects has, all in one software. So you don't have to leave HitFilm Pro to go to a visual effects editor. It's all in one software. And yeah, that's about it. There's a lot of options you have. It just depends on your situation. Don't make this a conversation about this software is better regardless, full stop. That's not how this should go. It depends on your workflow. It depends on how you like to work with things, and also your situation. How often do you edit? How much do you edit? Do you want to do visual effects, editing, both, all kinds of stuff? So it just depends on your situation. There's not a one size fit all. So I hope that helped you guys. Maybe it gave you a bit more of a perspective. And if I missed something, leave it down in the comments below, because I want to know if I missed something. So let me know what you guys think of the video. If you enjoyed it and you think it deserves it, please leave a like. That would be really awesome. Consider subscribing. Stick around for the future. I'm going to do a lot of visual effects, editing, streaming, tutorials, all kinds of stuff in the future. So stick around for that. But until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep shooting. Oh, by the way, if you want to have a live discussion with me, so talk and chat and I can reply live in real time, come say hi on Twitch. Link is down in the description. I live stream there and we can start a conversation, talk about pretty much anything creative related, streaming, editing, visual effects, how to get downloads for your streams, make your brand look better, build your brand, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. Come say hi, link in the description. I'll see you there.